Hello everybody and welcome back to the Pennsylvania Berwind. This is episode number 13. Thank you for joining me once again. Today we are going to be working on something a little bit different, something that needs to get done, and that is the far end of Juniata Yard. And I didn't get as much work done as I had intended to, mostly because I was spending time on this passenger station, and a lot of the assets that I had to place are just pain in the butt assets, like cars and telephone poles. Not telephone poles, streetlights. Things like that, things that you have to place down and rotate manually several times to get it right. Combine that with some pretty strange behavior in Trainz, and you'll see some of that in this video. I guess I'll outline it quick so you can keep an eye out for it. One of the first things that was giving me some problems was the terrain tool, and for some reason this only happened when I was recording, so I really don't know what the actual issue was. And there's a bit of a jump cut coming up where you'll see the terrain change features a little bit. But the problem was that I would go into the terrain editing tool and use the leveling plateau tool to level out the land, and it just would stop registering anything. And if I went into grid mode, I'd be stuck in grid mode. So I don't know what was going on. I also wasn't able to place any more assets when this was going on. It just wouldn't let me place anything. And upon trying to exit and save, it would just sit and try to save for like 10 or 15 minutes. It was ridiculous. And this happened a number of times. Actually, here comes the jump, and you'll actually see me in the grid mode, and where it actually begins to get stuck. Really frustrating stuff. I almost just decided to scrap this episode, or put it off for another week, because it just was really driving me bonkers. So you can see right here, I was just trying to use the terrain tool and nothing was happening. That, and the other issue I was having was rotating lampposts, and you'll see that in a little bit too. I don't know where it happens. I can't remember in this little preview box that I'm watching. It does happen eventually, and I'll probably call it out when I see it. But what was happening is I'd be rotating the streetlights, and I'd go to rotate the next one, which would be far away. It wasn't like I was accidentally grabbing the wrong lamppost or something like that, but it would just suddenly start spinning the previous lamppost in circles like crazy. Like I'm not even moving my mouse, and the thing was just doing like 360s. It actually was kind of humorous, but it really drove me nuts, because as you'll see shortly, I had to spend a lot of time placing lampposts. So there were a lot of lampposts that were being placed, and a lot of them were giving you an issue. I think it was probably maybe. It was something like every fourth or fifth lamppost that I placed that gave me an issue. And it wasn't anything else. I didn't have this issue with any other assets like cars or shrubs or anything like that. It was only these lampposts. So very weird stuff. I managed to get it all sorted out though, or get this episode put together. But man, what a headache it has been to get this going. But anyway, let me explain what we're doing here. This is the far end of Juniata Yard, and this is a very unfinished area. And I wish I could say I had some grand plan for this section, but really I don't. We'll go over that in the outro. But truth be told, I'm kind of making this up as I go. I wanted to add a passenger station in here for a really long time. It was not included in the original P&B, and it felt like it was something that could add some operational interest to the full P&B. So I thought, you know what, why not? This is a great spot. I had a nice open area, and I found this great asset. This is a Lackawanna passenger station. It still says Lackawanna on the side of it. I can't change it, unfortunately, but whatever. It looks really nice, and it fits the region. And in fact, this yard is modeled, I believe, after a former Lackawanna yard. Somebody can correct me on that. This is the yard that I based this on is in Lower New York, just right around where New Jersey and New York, the border is, just north of New York City. There is a rail yard there, and this is kind of based off of that. One of you guys in my tour video mentioned it, and I just can't remember it. But anyway, so it's based on a real railroad yard. I don't believe that there is a passenger terminal in the real thing, but they do store New Jersey Transit passenger trains there. So I thought this would be kind of a cool addition. And also, Juniata Yard has some extra tracks, so you could store maybe some passenger coaches there. Maybe anything that had some kind of like a mechanical problem or something like that, like a repair in place sort of thing. Could add some decent operational interest. So the grand idea for this area, I don't know. The way I'm building it, it looks like it's going to be a busy area, so we'll have to decide on what the heck we're going to do. But I wanted to detail this area a bit, add some taxi parking, loading. I should probably add a bus or something like that. Would be kind of cool too. But there's this really nice taxi pavement marking, which I like a lot. That's one thing actually that I want to do, and I think I'm gonna get started on that pretty soon. Is doing some pavement markings, the kind that if you're in a parking lot, there's those big yellow horizontal stripes that tell you can't park there. Things like that. That's the type of asset that I really want to make because they're everywhere, and I can't seem to find anybody who's made them for Trainz, unless they're under some other weird name that I can't find. But pavement marking or asphalt marking or anything like that, nothing comes up with that. So that's something that I think I'm gonna try to make, and I think it's simple enough that for my first time in Gmax or whatever 3D modeling software I can get my hands on, it shouldn't be too difficult to do. And in the meantime, I've been using some of those yellow markings, which you'll see me use in just a moment, off to the right-hand side. But yeah, so there was a lot of parking lot action happening here, and it became really monotonous. And in fact, I cut out some of the monotony later on. Here's those markings that I was just referring to. These are airline markings for use, I believe, for airports. If you're going to build an airport and Trainz for taxiways or something like that. So if you use the skinny one, it works pretty nicely. So that's what I'm using temporarily until I can find some of those, or until I can make some of those pavement markings myself. But anyway, yeah, I cut out some of the car placement and stuff like that later on because it was just so monotonous for me to do. And I can't imagine that you guys would enjoy watching me place like 150 cars individually and then having to rotate them individually. It's just so... The struggle is real in this game sometimes. I tried even copying and pasting them, but because the limitations of the copy and paste in this stinking game, like it snaps to the grid. So it didn't line up to anything, so I couldn't even copy and paste it. I tried copying and pasting these light posts too, and oh, there goes the, look at the light post on the left. If you rewind just a second and you look at the light post on the left, you'll see it spinning out of control like Beetlejuice's head. That was one of those bugs. I think it happens again in just a second. Let's see. There it is. That, I was not rotating my mouse at all. It was just going completely haywire. Anyway, so yeah, the copying and paste function is really frustrating to try to use when you're trying to copy and paste something useful, like a whole bunch of lampposts or a whole bunch of cars that you need to just lay down a zillion times. I ended up using the car groups, which I don't really like to use that often, but because this is kind of a background element, I don't think it was that big of a deal, and I blended in some regular static cars as well, just to break it up a little tiny bit. Yeah, so I think it works a little bit. This area here, just trying to do a little bit of scenicking and bring it together. It's like there's so much scenery work that needs to be done here because I kind of just slapped a whole bunch of trees down a long time ago and a bunch of greenery just to have something. I think maybe probably just before I started this YouTube series, I just slapped a whole bunch of stuff down so that I had something to actually show in this area because this is one of my favorite yards. I'm a big yard guy. I love yards, so pretty much any yard is going to be my favorite. But I love the layout of this. I like the track work and everything, so I wanted to make sure that I showed it off and it wasn't just a whole bunch of plain baseboards and stuff like that, because that's not a good way to start a YouTube series. But whatever. Anyway, so doing a little bit more scenicking and just trying to tie this together. One thing that I am trying to do a little bit more of when I'm doing my ground texturing is not to constantly be rotating the texture. I've been spending a little bit of time on the forums again, just looking at people's screenshots and stuff, and I've seen some really great stuff. And some of the stuff that I've seen, the textures, the ground textures are flat. They're not rotated like a zillion times. So I'm gonna try to do that in some places, especially like on asphalt and ballast and stuff like that. Things that that don't need to be such a hodgepodge of layers like stacked on top of each other. So you'll be seeing me do a little bit more of that a little bit more frequently. And then over here, I thought that it would be a good idea to, as I said, I don't have a grand plan for over here, so it seems like it's going to be a busy area. And I was trying to think back to a lot of the train stations that I've spent time at in the past. When I was commuting to school out on Long Island, taking the Long Island Railroad, or the Metro North and stuff like that, you'd see almost always a gas station or a 7-Eleven or something like that very nearby to pick up some snacks or something like that when you were going to get on the train. So I thought this would be a good addition. And initially, the 7-Elevens that I used to go to on Long Island didn't have gas stations. So this whole gas station platform thing wasn't really in my plan until I put the 7-Eleven sign up, and then I saw it had gas prices on it, and I was like, oh, I guess this is a 7-Eleven with a gas station. So I added that in. It works. It's not something that I thought of, but you know, it gets the job done. Other than that, I'm just trying to bring in some of the scenery and tie it all together as best as possible where I can. Trying to do some new assets, some side of the road weeds and stuff like that. Looking for something good. If you guys know of anything like sumac, or I'm thinking like milkweed, or what is some of the other stuff that's out there? Ragweed, stuff like that. I tried searching the download station. I didn't see anything quite like that. But if you know of anything, make sure you leave it in the comments section so I can try to use it. And now here we are getting to the monotonous part of placing lots and lots of cars. The other thing that's a real pain in the butt with these car blocks is that they don't always line up exactly with the spline parking lot spaces. So what I ended up doing was actually adjusting the splines a little tiny bit so that I didn't have to finagle too much with anything else. And I didn't have any cars like, splitting one of the parking lines or something like that. So straddling, that's the word. Straddling a parking line, even though that does happen in real life. But I wanted to, minimize that as much as possible. I figured I would start with the closest parking lot and put the most cars as close as possible. And same thing with this big parking lot that I'm about to get started on here. I put more of the cars closer to the front because that's where people are going to park first. They're going to park as close as they can to the train station. And then I thinned it out as I got further away. I could probably get away with putting more cars in there. You'll see by the end of this, but I just couldn't do it anymore. There's too many stinking cars. Too many splines on top of splines and cars on top of cars. Oh man. But anyway, this was a lot of fun. It was a good change of scenery, good change of things to do. And it's something that I need to get done in order to get this route out to you guys soon enough. But it looks like we're coming up to that time where the time lapse is going to run out soon. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'll catch up with you guys in just a few minutes. Alright gang, well that brings us to the end of the episode. I'm gonna make this outro kind of short because I'm running out of time to record this and edit it and everything else. I am going out of town again, so I need to get this done. Alright, so let's take a look at the last couple of things here. First of all, if this map looks a little bit different to you guys, and it should, it's because I've been messing around with some post-processing settings a little bit. The Jointed Rail guys pointed out to me that it is possible to actually fine-tune the post-processing beyond the ultra setting, and to do different sharpening things and stuff like that. So I've been messing around with that. I kind of like the way that it looks right now. I don't have the shaders installed because I was getting kind of a weird, I think it's anti-aliasing is what was happening. Like I was seeing like ribbons in the textures like all over the place. So I got rid of the shaders because it just looked like crap. So until I get my new graphics card, no shaders, but I'll be doing the post-processing stuff. All right, so with that, what else is there left to do here? I'm leaving this open to comment and some suggestions from you guys. As I had said in the time lapse, I don't really have like a grand plan for this area. My initial, I guess, the way that I built the trackage here, because it is very different from the original P&B. My intention was to have a double main line heading out this way, and then a single track main line going out this way. And I kind of envisioned some Amtrak traffic and maybe even some commuter traffic coming through here. So I don't know necessarily where it would originate and terminate, but I wanted to leave this open also to future expansion if somehow one day I ever finish this route and then want to expand on it even further. I wanted to leave this option open. So with that in mind, and this big station here, I don't know why I'm out of breath right now, it's kind of weird. I did just run 2 miles a little while ago, so maybe that has something to do with it. So sorry if I sound like really winded. So with that in mind, and this big station here, and this huge parking lot, it seems like it would be a pretty busy area. So I'm thinking maybe I need to add maybe some strip malls and some other large facilities like that. Maybe a couple more gas stations and like a downtown shopping sort of area. I don't know. I kind of want to fit it within this baseboard though, so I don't know. It's a tough call because if I put another baseboard on here, there's going to be a lot more to have to scenic, and I want to keep that down to a minimum. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, because I don't know how to close this up, and this is just one of those areas that needs to get done before I can release anything. Over here will be a little bit more self-explanatory. I can kind of just leave it as it is or scenic it in or whatever. And for those of you who do live in New York, this is the part of the New York State Thruway that crosses over top of the real-life rail yard here. Again, it's not based track for track, but it's awfully close. But anyway, I did want to get more done here with regards to like scenicking in some stuff over here a little bit more, but time is just not on my side at the moment. I also wanted to do over here, and then after I did the 7-Eleven station, I was like, I don't want to scenic this in because it's just not going to make sense to just be a station in the middle of nowhere. So keep that in mind. Anything else I want to mention? Oh, I guess the other thing is with the texturing, you can kind of see what I was talking about by not rotating it so much. You get a little bit more of a pattern. Maybe this texture isn't the best because it does repeat quite a bit, but let's see if I can find a spot. Well, anyway, it's out there, and I think I'm going to be using that technique more often, so it's not so blurred. Like this is blurred because I'm holding down. If you hold down the bracket key, you'll see that it's constantly rotating the texture direction, and I think it just layers it on top of itself over and over and over and over again. So you'll get kind of it'll eventually just start to blur, as opposed to looking like this. So going forward, I'm gonna think about it a little bit more and use that to my advantage where I can and when I can, because I think it's definitely a useful technique to do. And I think I've covered everything that I want to talk about. Did I? Post-processing, 7-Eleven, open area. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. If you are out in Texas dealing with Hurricane Harvey right now, my thoughts are with you. My brother's out there battling it as well. So best of luck to you guys. I wish I could do more to help you, but just know that I am thinking about you. And good luck with everything. And I will see you guys hopefully soon. It might be a little bit before the next episode because I have a wedding coming up and I'm traveling a little bit. But stay tuned. Oh, that's right. The last thing that I want to mention is in case you missed the Needles live stream video, I do have a website up now as well. It is with Jointed Rail. It is jointedrail.com/approach-medium. And that's kind of like a blog style website of mine there. It's not really a whole lot at the moment, but in the interim between videos when I cannot actually produce a video, I'll fill it up with some blog posts and stuff like that. So make sure you put that into your bookmarks, and I think there might be a way to put on like some kind of an alert or something like that when I do put a post. But if for some reason I am not able to do a video like for the next couple of weeks, I will put up a blog post just to keep you guys entertained just a little bit. So head over there, bookmark it, and check it out. Leave me a comment and stuff like that. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment and a like and all that below, and I'll see you guys next time.